Welcome, everybody, to today's Lunch and Learn. I'll be your host. If you have any questions, go ahead and post it in the Zoom chat or in the webinar chat, and I'll be able to answer it in the Q&A portion of the webinar, or I'll answer it live and maybe do a demonstration if the question is applicable. We've got a couple of pre-subs, so I'm going to start with those as you guys gather your questions. The first one is from Elizabeth. Her question is, we're building a project where we need decisions to pick up data and PDF scans from various folders. Once that data and PDF scans are pulled in decisions, we need to be able to build a flow that allows users, to define what data they want to view. I'm going to try to come off mute, Elizabeth, and could you give me some more detail about this use case? What's the question that you need help with?
The question is really, we asked this question yesterday about data structures and the best, what's going to be appropriate to do that. And I still want to make sure that you guys understand like fundamentally what we're trying to do. And it really is about the data that we are collecting. Each row of data is a record, and that record is going to have a file attachment, the PDF that corresponds to that in that row of data. What I want to make sure is that if we use, file extension or folder extensions and entity, like, do we have to use entity and folder extensions or flow execution extensions? Like, want to start there and just make sure that I have a good understanding of like why we would use just one, or are we using a combination of both? Because what we're going to have the user do is, once it's, like I said, loaded into decisions, they're going to have a pop-up form that says, hey, you've got, we all this data to view. In the pop-up form, we say, hey, we'll select the client you want. There's a column in that data that will tell what the record, the client record is, right? So I may just want to see one client. And when I pull that in, I see that one client, but I also see all of the PDFs in a side-by-side PDF previewer that shows the data, and it shows the PDFs that data was extracted from.
Yeah, so sure. Maybe I can. Let me share like a little project, one of our sprint projects that we have people build. Basically, we have something similar, just that, where it's like, hey, we have. Let me go to the HR dashboard for this one.
Okay.
Right. So I have a bunch of different people who let's say this is unique, right? We have unique people. This is all a folder that if I log in as this individual, I go inside of this folder and they will have their own PDF associated with here. Let me actually find one that actually has that PDF inside of it. Let's go here. And so that PDF, boom, is there. And obviously this can be renamed in accordance to the customer, whoever. And then someone can, download the file, look at it, or let me go to the HR dashboard. You can create user actions where I can say, hey, I actually want to view the document that's associated with this. And then this will come up in a viewer. Let me go to the one that I did earlier. And then you can review that document. I'm going to create that one live for you so you can just kind of see how that works. And so what I can do here is I'm going to do, let's just create a new, say, files stuff. And so right in my data folder, I'm just going to put some files in here, right? Let's do, we'll do this text as a document. We'll do this, what's the other one? Log search, boom. Okay, so I got these documents in here. And let's say I want to create a flow that actually shows those documents. And this could be PDFs, right? Even though it's text files, I can put a PDF just to kind of prove that. I'll even drag over, I think I have the I9, that same PDF, just so it's more, applicable to your use case. I9. Boom, add this as a document. Perfect, right? So I got 3 documents, 1 PDF, 1 TXT, and then what I can do then is I can just build a really quick flow, right? So imagine like you built your process out, and this is the user action that's going to be the thing that displays those documents for people. So I can say display a user documents. And I'm going to say this is a show form. This here, I'm going to create a new form. And this is going to use a specific control called a document viewer. So view doc form. Document viewer. if I can spell, there we go. Document viewer, put it all over here.
Yeah, that's doing one document at a time, right? But like, let's say you wanted
Mm-hmm.
to see all the hires that you hired this year, and you
Mm-hmm.
want to pull all that data. So you wanted to pull each record, and that contained the employee information along with their resume.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
How does that?
So
Okay.
yeah, so great question. So say that one more time. You want to just see all the documents inside of that folder at once?
Let's say that you wanted to pull a report, right, that said, hey, let me look at all the date, let me look at all the new hires from this past year. And
Mm-hmm.
side by side, I also want to look at the corresponding resume for each employee record. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, you would have a report that would contain all the employee data, and then, of course, their corresponding resume, all in the same view. So I could basically see that table of
Mm-hmm.
employees, and on the side of that, I can also see it, like all the resumes that I just asked for each of those employees.
Yeah, so you could definitely build that out.
Right.
That's more involved. I couldn't build it out really quick in this short time frame.
Right.
But that you can do. It's like just having those, parameterizing of the folder filter report view filter trees. I
Uh-huh.
think there is oh man, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. This will be faster. But
Like,
yeah, so you can do that. It's just more of when you build out that project, you'll need to be intentional. Where is I'm looking for? Because I think this will show you like the feature of what it could be. And you can use this with forms. You can do this with a lot of different ways.
okay.
This is the, oh my gosh, parent and child. That's what it's called. Parent and child. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. Hopefully this is the one. Download. Come on, Wi-Fi, work for me. My goodness. Then I'll go to my downloads.
While that's downloading, it kind of sounds like the PDFs are in one folder, and then the data would be another data source, like maybe it's
Mhm.
an entity.
Sure.
Okay.
It could be, right? Do you have a do you have like time where you're working with like a PS architect at all, or
I think it's a third party that we work with for that.
okay? Because I was about to say like that would be the a lot of this stuff. Like I think these are great questions. Let me see. Did it download? Download already. Um, but the particulars of this use case, like when we get into the praxis of like, okay, how do I set up my data structure and all this stuff?
Uh-huh.
That'll be something to talk through with that PS architect, who could then say, because what I'm recommending is the data structures I provided for you will work, but when you
Yeah.
get to like, hey, we got the big architecture concept, but when we have to kind of pick up the shovel and start digging, that's where we're like, okay, now what's the specifics that get to it?
Mhm.
And that's where they can help with those particulars over there on that. Someone, Jeremy or Will Clemens, can you look for this parent and child reporting project and download for me? I'm struggling to download it and then just send it to me when you can. Um, I'll send you a little video of what this works and how that kind of could look in decisions.
Okay.
And I'll also let me take offline this question offline because I can build a couple of different scenarios for you so you can see how this would work. I would just need some time to build it, but that won't be a problem for me to do that for you.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
So yeah, my pleasure. All right. We have another um, submitted question from James. Let me go to that one. And we're going to I'm going to allow you to talk, James, and let me just read your question. So James's question is, when setting a state trigger flow activation, can you set it up to select from flow or select from a list of available states rather than typing it as a constant to avoid typos? Also, parsing comment database with multiple fetch entity fields to allow comments to be shown for specific users. If user A leaves 2 comments on a form, user B, manager administrator can see both, but user C, who is a client, can only see 1 comment of the field. Do you want to talk about that more, or?
Sure. Let's do the first one first. The
Sure.
entity states. My
Okay.
question was, you do the set entity state step,
Mm-hmm.
and right now, I don't see a way that you can select the states that are already set up. So if I set up 10 states it'd be nice to be able to select the states that I set up instead of typing in a constant to set it to something where I could possibly misspell that state.
Sure.
Is there a way to do that? Is there a way to set the state based on what state's already set up?
Yeah, so one thing you could do, so this will utilize two things in decisions. One of it will be in the case entity. Let me create one real quick. I'll create another.
Yeah,
Let's
this is
see.
specifically for a case.
Another case test. Select all, generate. Eight times. Oh, and Elizabeth, could you put your email in the chat so I could send you those projects later? I forgot to ask. So James, yes. So what we will do here is data types. I'm going to create my own case entity. It's just going to be a very simple case entity. And we'll call this case entity, my case test. So it's test 1, test 2, we just need a couple properties. And then I'll create some states with that. Cool, cool. All right, so we got my states. I'm gonna say this is in progress. And then we'll add another one. Let me move this one to the left. Move to the left. Actually, we'll just do these three. All right, so I have these three states. Well, one thing to know is that if you ever want to know what the data type of these specific things are, you can go to the folder view over here and it tells you the type of what it is. So we know from looking at this is the type expected folder state. So what that means is that if I am in a trigger flow, so let's say I create, some trigger flow here. I'm going to go back to my data types and we're going to go into that case setter. And let's say in the first state, actually, we'll add another state after that, and we'll say this is state process request. Well, let's say I have a trigger flow here. And I can say user action, say trigger flow, test trigger flow. What you can do is you can fetch entities of that particular state in the expected folder state. And then that will display. And then if you have the fetch criteria or the parent folder filter of your configuration folder ID, which I'm just going to filter through it this way. As if I do in folder tree, not recent. If I go to all, another test case, data types, and I do my configuration folder, then when I run this, right, then I'll be able to see all of my different states that are just tied to this specific project. So I can get, hey, this is the started state. This one is completed state. This one is the in progress state. This one is in the process request state. Now, if I want to make sure that those things are in the appropriate order as they're configured to the left, no problem. All I need to do is just say sort field by order and then ascending, and then now it will come in the order that it provides there. So now going to the second part of the question. So how do we pass this into like a set entity state step? So you can easily say, yep, set entity state, my entity ID is going to be the folder ID. And then, by set entity, my new state, you can select from flow and grab it. So a couple of things you could do here. We can say, so let's say I want to go to the, let's say I want to go to, we can add on, it over here, there's one thing we can add a suggested value list. You can create a suggested value list.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would like.
Yeah, so let's go here. I'm actually going to go back into that one. And then I'm just going to open up another browser. So I can create my own suggested value list here. My other test case, data types, create a data type, and I'm just going to call this a value list. And I can create, what these values are. And I can put in all of this in here. So you type it in once, and then you can reference that list. So if I say started, we'll call
Yeah,
this
but that's
my
not dynamic, right? Because I want to get them off the states. So even if we like delete a state or add another one, they come up in any. What I'm thinking about doing is creating a subflow that does that. You just plug this subflow in. If you're going to ever change a state on any kind of case entity, whatever, you plug this subflow in, you configure it, and it automatically populates so that you cannot. The thing I'm trying to avoid is fat fingering a thing and a state, and then having to debug that later because somebody just typed something wrong, transposed
Right.
some letters.
Right. And so I think this is getting to the question. So like if I go to test here and let's say I have started, right, and then I'm going to add just another one and we'll say this is completed.
Okay.
So yes, it's not dynamic, but what this does is it goes and answers the other part of your question. Where now if I go here, I can attach that specific suggestion list that I've created once it compiles, and then now a user just selects a drop down from that for that. Let me look up a document on how to connect that too. But that's how you can do that. And then another way you could do it is you can also, there is a lookup list, a data extension flow we can add. If I go to designers, let's go to lookup list and constants. We can create a lookup list to get that information from that specific case record. And I could say add, let's say strings list name. I won't do this dynamic. Nope, let's do, I think it's a data extension. Data pair. Object. Data parent object. Because what we could add here, let's add an object that we can add, or let's do an object. So I want to say, let's send I want to say this is my case entity state output. And then I can utilize that fetch entities. I want to get the results. I'm the expected folder state. I'm gonna go to pick. We're gonna have my test configuration. And then what this does is now in the flow designer, when I pass this out, and I'm actually just gonna grab all of I think that's the entity names or the state names. That's all state name. Let's grab all state names. And then all I need to do now, and there's probably some other more filter logic that we can add to make it, more pretty in this end. But when I go back to this flow, I can look at it now in my data explorer. I have the case entity state lookup data where I can get all that information of the state. Is this the one I created? And I can grab individual ones. So like probably what we have to do is create a name pair value and output that list of name pair values. And then you'd have that there utilizing the lookup list and data function here. And then all a user has to do is say, okay, cool. If I want to go to the next state, I'm going to go to my case entity state lookup data. I'm going to go ahead and grab, I can grab the first or the last, and then I can go to the next one. And all we need to do there is now you just have to solve the logic problems. How do you get the ones in between to output, which I think in that case, we would use the data pair one. But that would be the best way to do it because then it's already in the flow. And then someone selects from flow and grabs the thing that they want.
Okay, so basically I just need to build that out so that I can create a drop down or lookup list of values.
Correct, yeah.
To pass into that set state.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I can figure that out. The other one was just about comments. You're adding comments to a form. You got a multiple line text box there, and you just want. And let's say your entity has comments that are from a manager and from you that are directly dealing with the client, and you only want the comments that are from you directly dealing with the client. You don't want the things that your manager's saying to you behind the scenes showing up on their form.
Sure.
All you want is the comments from you. How do I pick just those comments and pass them to that data field on the form?
Do you have what is the filter criteria putting on those comments? So the reason why
that's the question. That's that's what I'm trying to get to. What filter criteria do I use? Because I wasn't quite sure how to set that up.
Gotcha. Test. Filter comments.
You just use that.
I'm just going to fetch the comments data structure, see what could be used. Because I think there's a property called comment type or comment something that you could reference.
And the fetch criteria there. I didn't see where you could add like a specific value to that to fetch only this value based on the criteria.
Comment ID, name restriction. Oh, I should not have selected all of them. I'm just going to close. Thank you. I'm actually going to go, let me go to another one, and I'm just going to fetch comments for current folder or something of that effect. Training section. Where is comments? Another flow, test filter comments. Yes, I want to break the lock. Fetch entities. Let's take a look at this. I think it will be comment. And then let's just do the current folder for this entire, let's do this one. I just must see. Perfect. I like this. All right. So there's a couple of things you can do. So what I would do is, okay, so we got this one. There is a created by. So I'd probably use the created by field.
Right, or we could use that name field, right? And just make sure we name the comment each time we
you could use that name comment. Yeah, if there's a specific comment you want to get. But what I would do is I'd probably just say, hey, let me go to the ones created by me, or the ones created by those group of users within that group, and then you can say, okay, fetch this one only if it's between these three groups of users. That would probably be the easiest way to do that.
So
I also
that's
think,
where I'm stuck. How do I do that? How do I fetch those on that fetch entity step? Can I fetch them right there, or do I have to weed them out later?
Well, you could do it on the step, like, so I guess maybe you asked a clarifying question. Yeah, if I just do created by, and let's say if I had equals, constant, let's say it was just me. I don't think it's me, or let me just do admin decision, right?
Gotcha.
I can filter by this, right? And if I want it dynamic, right, I can say, hey, I want to use an integration internal services group service. I can say, hey, get everyone from the managers group, and if they're in this list of created by me's for comments, boom, those are the ones I want. And then if they're not, then I, maybe logically I'll presume that those are external users.
Right. Okay. I see that. That's going to give me all the comments for that entity that are just from that user, from that email ID. Right?
Exactly. And it's also helpful when you report on the comment data structure too. I think this will also help you as well. If I go into create reports, I go to report comments. I believe because the comment data structure is a part of the entity data source, we have default entity filters for created by me that you can just say, okay, hey, I want all these comments created by the current user, me. So that helps if it's, someone, on your side or someone on your customer side or a student, right? They'll only see the things that they've created. So I think that would probably be, that's probably how you combine it. Go ahead.
This would be, this report right now as it stands would be all the comments across all decisions, right? I mean, it's not based on a specific entity right now.
Correct,
unless I put that filter in there.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless I do.
I guess what I understand is that the comments table or folder is every single comment that's in that instance.
You are correct. Yes. If I just do a select asterisk from comments table, you're getting just everything in the table unfiltered.
Everything. Okay. So
exactly.
Okay.
The moment that you add a created by me filter, then you're only going to see the comments created by at admin@decision.com or whoever's logged in.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. That's just something that's a little bit different for me, that all the comments are in one place and you got to really filter them out and pick the ones you want.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's all the questions I have. That's great.
Okay. There's other ways you can do it too. So if you because you can also, it goes to that decisions folder driven design thing, and I probably said this so much, but you can also store different comments in different locations. So if you have comments that are like, hey, these are external comments and I want to store it in another location, but tie it in via ID to another, place, you can do that as well. And then now you have in separate locations. So yeah, it's reporting on the same table, but the entity folder ID, which is the property where it lives somewhere else, is different. And so now you can have that kind of logical separation, so to speak.
That's just a logical separation, though. It's not a physical. So this is
Yeah, it's
still
still in the
like behind
table.
the
Yeah,
scenes.
correct. Yeah,
It's
behind the
all
scenes, it's
one
still in the
table.
table. Yeah, it's just on the front
Right.
end in decisions, it lives somewhere else. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically, you're in the same apartment building. We just moved to a different suite. That's it.
Right. Right. So I mean, okay, I get that. But what's the difference between that and just say differentiating by the entity? And what does that get you besides all the other filters you could already use to
Yeah.
narrow down
So
the
what
comment?
that does is then now I can filter things on like that exist with inside certain folder filters, right? And I can use these for current filters and say, hey, I just want to see all these comments for this filter because I know only customer comments will be in the
Gotcha.
customer comments folder, right?
Gotcha.
And only, FSU
Okay.
comments will be in the FSU comments folder. I can still
Gotcha.
do a database relationship to tie them to my student application or my class application, but they will be, in the decisions perspective
Right.
in a different location.
They live in a different folder. Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So even
Okay.
if someone like, can, let's say someone put the folder view so that people can see the behind the scenes of the folder view and enable that feature. If you
Uh-huh.
put them in different folder feature locations, then even if someone looks behind it, they just see their own customer comments because it's just their folder.
Right. Then they don't have access to all the comments at all.
Mhm.
If you want to
Exactly.
restrict that from a security point.
Exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. All right. That makes a lot of sense. Great. Thanks.
Awesome. My pleasure. Alrighty. Let's see. Jeff asks, is there a way I can see what tickets T or mine are associated with a release version? I get an email from support sometimes, but not all the time. I let me where is the participation? Let's see. I'm gonna give you a lot of talk, Jeff.
Hey, Jared. Hey,
Hey.
I guess the reason I'm asking is because there's a couple places where I used to look, but it seems like maybe that's not being used anymore.
I talk about in like Tire or like when you log into your support portal.
Yeah, I can see in the support portal that on my DTs tab, there's a column that says like fixed in version or whatever, but that doesn't look like it's been used for quite a while, at least in my case.
Gotcha. So you're not getting those emails if like those tickets have been completed or.
Yeah, and then if I look on so this is weird. If I look on the release notes, I can see DTs on there. I guess everybody's that go into the release, but sometimes I'll see things that look similar to what might have been fixed for me, but the numbers are different. So I don't know if that's somebody else, meant the same issue and it gets fixed under their number or something. So I was just looking for like if there's a definitive way to track that, because I get that I get asked about that every time we decide to upgrade to a higher version. Like, what changes did we ask for that are in this version?
Sure, and just not getting the email blast. Yeah, well, I'll take that back. And I'll talk with the support team and see why you're not getting those emails. I'm not sure why.
Okay.
I don't have admins to check on it, but I'll take that question and ask. Will, could you go ahead and interface with some people from support and find out why Jeff Humphrey at New Ocean Health is not getting emails for ticket updates and changes?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. All right, and we'll send you a follow-up email, Jeff, when we get some information on that.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
My pleasure. All right, we got another question. So Radley asked, how do you change a project name? I'm going to give you permissions to talk, Radley. I want you to, what are you trying to change? Like when you're trying to change the project, like what's the issue that spawned this question?
There's a misspelling in the project name.
Oh, that would do it. Okay. So now, is this project already deployed in like what product, or is this just in dev right now?
It's in production. Yep.
It is in production. Okay,
It
so
is.
probably I wouldn't recommend changing that in prod, but I'll still show you how to do it so you know.
Okay.
So essentially, all you have to do is whenever I create. So here's my. I'm going to select from flow, and I'll say this is the new project, but I'm going to misspell it. New project. Oh, look, I got two misspellings. Perfect. And then I'm going to generate the folders. Now, all you have to do is you can go to the top level scaffold of the item. And this is where like why we recommend scaffolding, because it's easier to kind of find all the things related to your project and then remove it all. But all you have to do is you just have to say, okay, let's go ahead. And I believe it's export. And I know it's here somewhere. Oh, there we go. So if you go to your designer repository actions, you can, and then it will show you all the things related to it. And then you can say, yes, I want to remove. And so that removes that project name association, as you can see right there. Now, everything in decisions needs to have a project. So all you have to do is right click, design repository, add to project, and then I will call this my new project because I've spelled it correctly. And then I will say folder and content because I want everything that's inside of it. Click next, click add, and then I could commit this if I had a repo server, but I don't have a repo server connected to it. So that's how you would change it. If you don't have like the repository actions enabled, I believe you can also see those in the import export category as well. And that's how you could change the name of it.
Excellent. Thanks, Jared.
Awesome. Any other questions?
There's no one else. I just got a real quick one.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So in creating your REST service and your APIs and stuff, is it true that there's two ways to do it? You can go to the system out and then what is it? What's that navigation?
Talk about the features.
Where you go to system integrations, external services, and add a REST service there.
Oh, here. Or
And then
do it
you can
the
also do it from the
data
when
types.
you create the data type, right there. So
Yeah.
that's the same thing, right? It's exactly
Correct.
the same. Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
double check that. I thought it was, but
Sure.
because when I'm watching the videos, it says do it this way, but then in the task it says do it this way, and
Sure.
you get to the same place. I just want to make double sure that that's the exact same.
Great question. Yeah, what this does, if you use this action right here, the data types one, it basically just creates a link to the one. It still stores it in the external services folder. It just creates you kind of like like a shortcut here, even though it doesn't look like it, and then just references that in the back end. So that's why, yes, in this context, they lead the same place.
Okay. So I noticed when I do navigate to the system and integrations external services, and you pull that up, you pull that up, it doesn't list it there at all, even though you've created it. So
when you create it here?
Yeah, well, anywhere, because I created it for there's a couple of different sprints we have that you have to create an API. So
yeah.
I didn't see any of them there.
Oh, if you create it here, then it doesn't go to the back end there?
Yeah, it doesn't go like there.
Oh, really?
The external services and
maybe it changed.
Yeah,
maybe it changed. I know in older
see,
versions
you
it
don't
used to
see
do that.
anything here, and I was expecting to see. That's why I double check. That's why I'm asking the question, because I didn't see it there. It's like, did I miss something? Should I have done it the other way? Because it should be listed there. But then I thought, well, the other one's not listed there either. And I know that one.
Add rest, play test. That's what I'll call save this integration. All right, so I got this one here, and then let's go to the integrations. Oh, I guess it doesn't. I think in older versions it used to do that, but
okay, maybe that's something I need to put back in.
yeah,
I mean,
well, I know
you would expect to see it there. I mean,
yeah, well, I know in our newer version 9 for project views or project hub, that's what we're calling it. Everything's just in that project. So each project I create is going to have its own integrations folder, and that's how you create integrations from that point on. So they've organized it to where it's not just you create it here, it is here, but it's not there. Now it's like, hey, it's all in the same project. So your project's the main thing that houses everything, and you do everything in there, and all your integrations, SDK extensions, stuff like that will be there.
When are you guys gonna start rolling out some previews of version 9, or are they already out somewhere?
We will be having like a beta coming out soon for like a closed beta. And so some customers will be able to test that newer version, give some feedback. Internally, we'll also be having a beta in I think the coming couple of weeks. So it's surely around the corner. There's just kind of a couple of knobs and levers that they're working through.
So when will it be like for us, non-insiders to be able to see.
Sure,
get
general
the look
consumption.
and
I
feel
think,
of it.
well, I think we do have, Will, do you know if we have any videos? I think we do have, maybe I could be wrong. I thought we did have some demo videos.
Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
cool. That's what I'm kind of looking for, just to see what
Okay.
the look and feel and new functionality type stuff. Maybe if there's some papers on it or out there or documents. Start
Yeah.
looking at.
Will, do we have a
Selected
video?
I'm not sure about that, but I'll see if I can find something.
Okay. If not, then, I mean, I can give you a tiny tour of it.
And when is that? When is that due out? Do we have
This one, I'm
PTA
not
or-
sure. I'll have to
Okay.
follow up with the,
I mean, I'm asking just because we just installed in dev, so I'm
Mhm.
thinking, should I wait till version 9? I mean, if it's,
mhm,
or should I start developing now
I see.
and
I gotcha. That'd be a
And,
great question to ask I think, Keelan Cannon, your CSM rep, because I think she would know more about that information than
Yeah.
I do, like on
Okay.
the start dates of that.
yeah, I can ask her. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
meeting
But
with her
here's
Friday. Yeah.
I can give you a quick tour, but like here's basically what it looks like is everything now in version 9 is going to be separated things called a project hub. And project hub is going to have everything you need to be able to create your flows, integrations, data types, database integration, all that stuff. So a lot of what will happen is you're going to click on the plus sign to create a new project. And so I'm going to say, hey, this is, demo V9 project, right? You have to give it an icon, so you can give it an icon. I'm sure some of these things, this is not right, they're still working on this one. So
Yeah.
there's sure probably a couple things that will be a little bit different. But
Mhm.
overall, pick an icon,
Mhm.
say this is a demo project, and then I'll create this. And then what you'll see here is that when this project gets created, it will appear over
Mhm.
here. And
Nice.
it takes me straight into this project. You can see some tiles
Nice.
of some
Yeah.
metrics about this project. These tiles are clickable, so you can click on the different issues and things with your project. Then you'll notice on your left, you have 3 root folders in this project. A public, which is basically the new way of how people will launch um,
Dashboards and such.
yeah, dashboards and flows. So like if you want someone
Okay.
to like, hey, submit student loan application, right?
Gotcha.
This could be where you'd put it. Settings, all the different settings. So integrations, like I was telling you earlier, it's just all housed here now.
Nice.
If there's
Yeah.
certain, PowerShell, Python, I think there's even like STK extensions, constant variables. It's
Mhm.
now they've taken, instead of everything being in that weird conglomerate set system folder, they've now said, hey,
Mhm.
let's take a lot of those things and put it on the project level, because there's certain things like accounts, variables that may need to be globally globally / specific for that project.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of that for it. So
Nice.
then you have your generic folder scaffolding where you can build your flows, your rules, and things like that.
And I heard with the
Now,
flows, now you can search the steps globally now. Is that true?
Let me phrase it this way. So you could still search for the steps, but the steps you search for are dependency specific. Meaning, let's say I'm going to say this is my demo V9 flow. Right, and it's going to go in. There's been a facelift, skin lift for the icons up here for the flow. But basically, all of the steps and flows you search for. So let's say I have a flow that I want to run. I'm going to use the pick or create flow step. I'm not going to see anything to pick or create. Pick existing, right? I don't have anything to pick from. Yeah, I have the demo V9 flow, but that's the flow I'm in.
Right.
All right, because there's nothing else tied here. So what we've done is we filtered it to the project specific things.
Okay.
So what that means is if there is something that I want, let's say I really like something, I'm going to go back to the top project. Let's say there's something I really like in the let's say the insurance claim project. I really want to use that. So what you would have to do in that situation is now you can create a dependency for that project. And you say, hey, I want to manage the dependency, and I want to add this insurance claim project as a dependency to version 9. Reason why we did this is to make things a little bit cleaner, right? So you kind of know what's related to what. But going back to how this relates to the flow is that once I do that, then you'll be able to notice that now when I can pick a flow, I can only pick what I've created inside this flow or what's dependent or what I've classified as a dependency for that. So that's kind of what what I think what you've heard is like with it filtering, or you can search for things.
Oh.
It's been constrained to the things that you need for this project.
Okay.
So it's not crazy.
So the steps, what I was referring to is the steps over there on the search for the steps, right there. I mean, you know how that can be where you're searching forever if it's not one of the common ones, like if it's nested inside the internal or the
I see what you're
interfaces
talking
and all
about.
that.
There is
You can't find any of that stuff.
There is
right
a
now.
new, I don't think in this version, maybe I could show this. Oh, no, I can't. Okay, so they basically have this new powerful step called call a decision service. And so basically, right, remember how this internal services category was this huge, large category?
Yeah.
So now instead what it is it's just one step. And then if you see all the way to the right, you can pick the service name that you want. So let's say we're talking about comments. Okay, I want to use the comment service. Then you pick the method you want. Let me go ahead and save this. And it could be this version. Doesn't. Okay, there we go. And so then I could say, hey, I want to use the add comment step. And then what happens here is this refreshes and then gives you the properties for that. So it's a lot easier now because you just drag over one step and then you just kind of filter through that.
Okay.
So,
can you find that call internal decisions? Can you find that from up there?
Are they calling? Let's see. Call.
Yeah, because you couldn't find it before.
Call and search. You can search for that. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. No, that looks a little clean.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
like
cool
it.
things coming up with it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it the way it's organized a little bit more intuitive, looks like.
That's the goal. I think the other main thing is that the right clickable actions, the categories, we try to eliminate a lot of these arrows because, it's like go to this arrow, then go to this arrow, and it's just this forever nested tree. So we try to make it a little bit better. This is still under construction because it's still relatively large and we want to make that a little bit smaller. But this is how it's kind of changed. So manages now, it is still a category, but it's not a hoverable category. It's just, hey, here are the ones for managing the folder and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Yeah, no, my pleasure. All right. Any other questions? All right. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this lunch and learn so we can get this recording uploaded for people to see. Thank you so much for attending. Tomorrow, Robert will be hosting and I'll be on as well, so you'll be able to be on with both of us and we'll be able to answer your questions. So with that being said, hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Jared.